Hello everyone, I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Mom.
And this is Millennial Mom. And welcome back to our Married at First Sight Season 11, Episode 15 review, Pack Your Bags. And we already know who should be packing the bags. But let's get into the review. All right, everyone. So we're rolling from the retreat. We see everyone leaving. The first couple we're going to start off with is Christina and Henry. Is it a shocker to any of us that it is complete silence from what we saw?
No.
On their way back home.
It's not. I mean, that's what they've given us all season, so that's just is what it is.
At this point. So basically with every couple, we are seeing them talk to their friends to make a decision about decision day. Even though I personally think this is a pointless conversation that Christina and Henry are both having with their friends, they have it anyways. Christina meets up with one of her friends and she lets him know that throughout this whole time, she feels like this is a friendship. Nothing more, nothing less but a friendship. She's given her all, she's not ugly. She's not needy. Why doesn't Henry not like her? Even though she's like, he didn't really say that, but I read between the lines because that's what he said.
He did come out in whichever week it was, 5, 6, 7. He did mention to her that he didn't care for her attitude and how she took things personal or whatever it was, that he just didn't care for her. And she was like, well, I don't know what you mean. I mean, I just don't know what else to do to try. And it's like, I understand they have to continue on for the sake of the show. So her feeling like they're friends isn't something she just pulled out the air. I mean, they're friendly. I don't know if they're friends.
You think they're friendly?
For the sake of the show.
The friend asked her, well, are you even willing to continue to keep trying? And she says, he plays the guitar really good when he's not shy and wants to break out. Just giving him really nice compliments.
But the thing for me is there's always been this element underneath Christina's personality, like, what is she hiding? Like, there's something missing. And we actually get to figure it out when we get to see Henry. But the friend goes on to say that, you know what, I think, they should try to work it out. But I mean, she only gave the
gist
of the relationship, not everything that she was doing, because if it was the other friend, the one from the wedding and the get together, it would have been a whole different conversation. So now we have Henry. He's meeting with his friend Kristen, and they talk about decision day. And Kristen, of course, how's things going? And Henry says, there's been a lack of communication. And Kristen says, really? After 4 months, there's a lack of communication?
I mean, let's just stop right there. Kristen already knows how things are going, so that's just a redundant conversation. And on top of that, she hasn't liked Christina from day one. So anything that Henry brings up to the table, she's already going to add that to her list of, I already knew you guys were going to work from there on.
Well, here's the interesting thing. During confessional, Henry said that the text that Christina sent is kind of like a threat as to if you say something, I'm going to expose you. But expose you to who, though? Like the other cast members?
Not so much as a threat. Well, it's a threat, but more like, if you don't have my back with these conversations when I'm not around, then I'm going to expose you. That was more how Henry put it. Later on, we see them in their final dinner scene. One, the place that they were walking into was beautiful. I'm like, they don't even deserve to really be there.
It's not about deserve. One last nice thing to do together, I guess.
Even at the table, when Christina asked him, of course, because she starts the conversation, about how does he feel about decision day, he doesn't give a straight answer. All he says was, I really wanted to just try my best, just to go for it.
Yeah. And
that's about it. We go to Christina. She basically says the same thing too. She's like, as long as I gave my all, I give 100, that's it. But what I thought was interesting about this whole conversation was Christina asked him, so what have you liked about me this whole time?
And the most interesting thing was, but not really, was Henry going, I mean, the struggle was real.
It was real. What do you say? Writing, she can write.
That letter, you wrote it like real nice. I'm thinking, not really.
And she's spontaneous. Christina starts crying. I'm like, girl, these are just general statements he just gave you. Because if you were looking at his facial expressions, he was not here for it. I'm surprised he didn't have more glasses of wine like he usually does. Like, even he said, you know, it's kind of hard for me to even be in the scene without laughing.
I don't think they both wanted to laugh. I think Henry wanted to laugh at the audacity, not laughing because it was funny. After the dinner, when they got home, the conversation with Christine was like, you know, I think we can try. And maybe we could go to counseling. I'm like,
I don't even talk to the TV. I was like, no, it's over. Goodbye. We don't need it. We don't want to see it. I can't do another week with them. So let's touch on Brett and Olivia really quick. We see Brett go out with his friend, and I must say his friend definitely brought the light to the show.
He did.
For Brett.
Yes, he
in
did.
this scene. So Brett reveals to him that, you know, him and Olivia aren't together anymore. The friend was kind of shocked, but he wasn't 100% shocked. And Brett was like, you know, I kind of feel like eventually down the line, they would have realized they weren't going to be together forever. But the pandemic just put an extra 20 on 10 for him. And he was like, no.
You know, maybe so for Brett, not necessarily for Olivia. I do think as pushy as Olivia is in her personality, I still think that she wanted to be married. Just Brett wasn't the right match for her. But one of the most interesting things that Brett's friend said was like, you know what? Brett needs to learn how to take other people's opinions, feelings into account. Because there's been times in their friendship where things have been said or done or misconstrued that he also felt pushed aside or whatever from Brett. So that is naturally part of Brett's personality.
He said Brett doesn't bend, Brett doesn't fold, and Brett can be very off-putting. I was like, that is exactly what I said. That is why I do not care for Brett. His friend just basically summed up everything how I felt about him. So I could be friends with the friend, but Brett, it was just a lot. And even then, when we saw them later on in that little scene, he was like, yeah, I'm going to go back on the dating scene, you know, because he doesn't want to die alone, his serial daterness. And then he said he's going to reject people just for a confidence boost. I'm like, this is the problem.
That is the problem, or actually part of the problem. There's different little nuances with Brett. But we kind of knew this early on before they got married at the bachelor party. Not at the bachelor party, early on, like at the
the bachelor party too.
Well, more so at the family's house when we met his brothers is what I was trying to get at. Because in his family, they were saying like, what are you going to do as far as dating? Like you just went on a date like a couple days prior. So that wasn't necessarily a surprise, just the fact that his friend kind of co-signed what a lot of us have said about Brett along the way as far as that part of his personality.
And then when we go on to Olivia, Olivia's being the hopeless romantic, as some of you guys already called out like Mom did. Speaking of, I hope she got that ring back. But moving forward, Olivia's friend asked her, you know, well, what do you think you could have done better in the relationship? She said, I could have probably been more intimate with Brett because that's something that I know that he wanted. And if I gave, then maybe he would have given something to me back. I was like, no, because that's not a part of Brett's personality.
Well, what Olivia had said before they broke up was, you know, I like the Brett off camera, not the Brett on camera. And remember that little snippet we saw off camera? They were kind of lovey-dovey, sitting on the lap and hugging, stuff like that. So I think maybe that's what she meant by intimacy on that level.
Like on camera, then off camera?
All the time.
Okay. So the friend goes and asks her, so do you think if he came back and wanted another try, would you give him another try?
And before you even answer that, I'm going to interject you. You should have gave the same answer you gave before. No, stop. It's not worth it. But nope, Olivia said she would consider it. And I'm like, why? Like, what's to consider?
She said she would consider it, but she said something that I was like, Brett wouldn't go along with this because Brett didn't like it earlier. She said she would ask him a bunch of questions, wanting to know why. Red doesn't like to be questioned. So even if he did, as soon as she started doing that, he'd be like, yeah, now I remember why I left her in the first place. So when Amani and Woody get home, Amani asks Woody a question like, how do you feel on your, your content level, your love level with me? Because she didn't say this to him at first, said she was still at, 50-50, that she was still straddling that line a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, he was at 70-80, but now he's closer to 100. Amani was like, 100?
But Woody has always been a little bit further than Amani with the love and saying I love you and things like that. And Amani's been a little, not too far behind, but I mean, at least she's been reciprocating love, affection, and attention.
I don't know if you caught this, Mom, but when she was joking about saying that, she's still at 50%, he made this face.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, you saw it?
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, oh, I'm joking. And then he came back. He also made that face a little bit later, but we're going to touch on that a little bit later. For now, we're going to jump on the conversation that Amani was having with her friend. And when the friend learned that they were together, or they've been together for 16 whole weeks, she was like, 16 weeks? I was like, I feel the same way as you.
Yeah, I agree with the friend. 16 weeks is a long time. And dealing with the C-19 during this time, even if it wasn't that, I mean, some of these couples, as we've said before many, many times, haven't progressed, but at least Amani and Woody has progressed to a point where they can talk about moving to the next step.
The friend asked, how do you feel going into decision day? Amani says she feels confident. She loves him, whatever. Just a little bit or a lot, that she says. And she doesn't really have a lot of problems with him.
Right.
The friend does ask, what about the arguments? Because everything isn't all peaches and cream all the time. And she didn't really touch on the argument that I thought they were going to talk about,
the
IG. So I guess she swept that under the rug. But then she brought up the fact that, sometimes Woody doesn't really listen to what she has to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's there, but then he's kind of in his own world. And then production brought up the past clip when she was talking about a burqa, and he said a burger. And he's going to sop her up in some mayo and ketchup and all that stuff. But I wouldn't use that against him, because sometimes I assume when you're on camera and you do get questions on the spot, some people just respond on camera. So I don't necessarily see that as something, but maybe going back to the IG thing could be it, probably. What do you think?
Yeah, because that was a little bit more personal on IG. It was on his phone. That's more social. That's more relatable versus just regular conversation. Burqa, kind of sound the same. And if you don't know what someone's talking about,
What is a burqa?
Well, that's Southern style, right? Didn't he say burger? To make it seem like, he didn't know what she was talking about, but at the same time he tried to, try to engage the conversation, but he was wrong with that. So I don't see anything wrong with that in particular.
So in all, what I got from Amani when she was speaking of Woody about that, in the wise words of my mom, is that he more so listens to respond, and he's not listening to receive. So he's not hearing everything that she actually has to say. And he actually admits that later on. But before we get to that, let's talk about Woody meeting up with his grandma. I was like, I can see why Woody got away with a lot of stuff at his house, because grandma looks like she's with everything. She looks like she's going to go out and party with you.
Maybe so. I mean, grandma, she's still vibrant, still hip, but grandma did give Woody advice. But before I get into the advice, she did say that, I see that you and Amani are good together, and I can see it lasting. But at the same time, you have to listen, you have to respect, and all those things.
But he said that's what Amani already does right now anyway. So now we see them at dinner, and they both look good. They both look fly. I was feeling the jumpsuit. I was feeling the tuxedo.
Did you expect anything less?
I was feeling the dinner. I was feeling everything. And this was a really beautiful and touching scene. And I know I've been saying since day one that I have my third eye on Woody. It's still there. But this scene was really cute and sweet, because he really poured out all his emotions to her, saying, he basically thinks he's found the love of his life, his soulmate with her.
And I thought that was sweet too. And he actually cried with that, got emotional.
He didn't cry. He was shedding some tears on the side.
Something was in his eye?
Yeah.
Okay. Something was in his eye because, he always thought himself being married and want to be in love, but he didn't know how to get to the point of being married. And for him to have found it through this process that he's grateful for, and he's also grateful for Amani. And Amani was like, oh. And I was thinking like maybe she's gonna reciprocate at the same time.
I thought she was gonna give a little speech too, but she didn't give a speech. I was like, okay. So later on, when they get back to the house, Amani and brought up the decision day again. She was like, what do you think would make me say no? And Woody says, maybe the fact that you don't like when things fall on, deaf ears. And she was like, yeah, that would kind of be the point. She was like, well, would you be mad? Would you hear me out? Would you listen? He's like, no, I want to hear nothing you said. I'll just peace out.
Yeah.
And and she was like, really? Like, that's how you really feel about it? And then in her confessional, she was like, I haven't seen this side of Woody before. It almost looked like he's another person.
Yeah, that's true too. But at the same time, with that comment, I believe he was serious when he said it, even though it may seem like, not really. But he was serious because if you jump back to the conversation with Miles in the barbershop and maybe even back to the retreat, talk about the things going on with Karen, he was like, you know what? I wouldn't be with it. I would walk. So I think during certain circumstances, Woody would be out regardless.
Not only that, but back to when it was the hair days about her changing the hair, he had that same attitude too. So I'm like, you've seen it before. So let's jump into Amelia and Bennett. When they get back from the retreat, Bennett was like, oh man, that was so fun. It was like a rave. I was like,
I'm like, how? What did you do?
Then they get into the conversation about decision day. Bennett, being Bennett, says, I would have to flip a coin, even though I think he was joking, and Amelia went with it, like a jokey vibe too. But then she was like, you know what, I'm just going to let fate decide, which is very interesting. Bennett first meets with his two friends, one with a mustache that looks like his younger brother, and then the other one who looks like he wasn't here for it, which we found out later with his comments. But basically, he lets his friends know, like, right now, I would say yes on decision day because we just have so much fun together. We talk, we laugh, we like the same things, they vibe together. Like, everything is going good for right now. Bennett's friend comes in and is like, everything isn't all rainbows and sunshine. Like, have you guys even got into any, like, arguments or anything? Like, what's happened? And Bennett's like, no, we haven't got into any arguments.
Yeah, but the one friend who technically has expert status as far as I'm concerned on this episode because he was asking the real questions. Like, all of them should have been asked as the weeks have gone on. Like, how do you know? It's not raindrops and roses. It's not this. It's not that. Like, you're supposed to take marriage seriously. And we've been saying this about Amelia and Bennett. Like, everything can't be so perfect because Amelia's just like, oh, I don't know. And the friend just wasn't here for it. It's like, when you get to Virginia, because Ben explained he was going to Virginia for her residency, like, what are you going to be doing there? Like, you're not going to have no job, so you just be sitting there like a dog waiting on her to come home. I was like, oh.
Right? That was the first one. And then the other one, he was like, for right now, it's just a honeymoon phase. It's not going to be all margaritas and sand on the beach in Mexico. I was like, friend. So now we move into Amelia. So first, we didn't really see Amelia's friends until like later on. But Amelia's getting a tarot card reading, virtual.
Tarot.
Tarot? I thought it was tarot.
Tarot.
A tarot card reading virtually, just to find out some more information about their relationship. And I actually wrote down some of the stuff that the tarot card reader said. So let me go to them and I can read it accurately.
You can. But here's the thing. With all the questions that was being asked, it was something like the King of Cups. I don't know what they said.
King of Clubs, which means stable emotions and communication from Bennett. Even though they're not 100% perfect, they're going to be matches for each other. And then for the last question about her moving to Virginia, she told the tarot card reader, told her, don't make decisions based off of fear and you have your own anxieties to worry about.
I mean, that's true though, but did you need a tarot card reader to tell you that?
No, this is everything we already knew.
But the biggest bombshell.
You're just gonna jump right into it.
Just gonna jump
You're
right
gonna
in.
forget the whole crown and the pumpkin, which is actually an orange on Amelia's head.
That is so unnecessary to me. The biggest bombshell is when Amelia and Bennett had a romantic dinner of pizza and Bennett had balloons, stuff like that, that she told Bennett that, you know what? She just thought it would be fun to be on a reality show. I was like, fun? So this whole time, when
you forgot, you're telling me this whole time.
Right.
Keep going.
That you're the one that was on here for an alternative reason based off of the people who we thought may have been on here for alternative reason. It was really Amelia. You could have knocked me over with one of Bennett's feathers.
She would have got you. She was snake. She would have bit you.
You could have knocked me over with one of Bennett's feathers.
Well, I technically said earlier, it wasn't on this level, but I'm like, I don't think she would be with him. I just got the vibe if he didn't say yes to moving. But now finding out that she just wanted to be on the show just for kicks, I was like, is she going to say she's kidding? Is she joking? Because Bennett's face is like, what?
Bennett said that, he wasn't sure if, he could take Amelia and this relationship seriously because of what he learned. Like, he came on the show for love and to find marriage, but did she?
Our last couple, we finally made it. Karen and Miles, saving the best for last.
Do you really want to go through the whole thing or just get to the nitty gritty? Because to be honest, we already know what's going to be said. I need a more masculine man. I need more of
yes,
this.
we have to get into
that.
it because we actually dived a little bit deeper into what her definition of masculinity is.
Okay.
But first, we see them back at the house from the retreat. He's rubbing on her feet because she asked him to. And then, they're talking about decision day. And Karen's like, you know what? I just want to have a clear conscience that basically that she did everything that she can do and that she tried throughout this whole process. Well, then when we got to Miles about his feeling about decision day, he said he wants to be confident in him giving 100% too. But in his confessional, when he was saying that, he looked drained and he looked tired.
He did.
Like, yeah, I would be too after 4 months. So we're actually going to start with Miles. Miles and his friend, they seemed like they were having a good conversation. He was letting him know it's been 4 months. There hasn't been too much intimacy. And he's not feeling that, emotional. He's not masculine enough comment. And then he also let us know in the beginning weeks of quarantine, they weren't really talking that much. He was cooking the dinner. She was over there sitting on the end of the couch while he's over there on that side. He was like, nah, I can't do this no more.
Yeah, but I mean, like, how many weeks or months have gone by when he realized that? Just because that you have been matched with someone, that doesn't mean that they are your soulmate. You can even be married to someone to start off. That doesn't mean they're the one for you. You may not have that soul tie connection.
Well, he did say if she can start acknowledging his needs or something in that aspect, that maybe they can ride off of the potential. And then we go into Karen and her friends. And this is where Karen just lets loose. And we finally found out a little bit of her definition of masculinity. Because I have been wondering what it has been the whole time. So when she starts talking about Miles and letting them know, he's kind of more emotional than I am. I'm not really that person who likes to give a lot. Sometimes I like to be to herself. Even though with the injustices that's been happening, he's a black man, she doesn't really know how much to really give to him, even though she knows that's what he needs. And even her friends were like, well, if you kind of know that's what he needs, even though that's not something that you do per se, since you're married, you might as well attempt to try to give something. But then one of the other friends, I didn't catch her name, was saying, I can see with the guy like Miles, he's kind of emotional and they want someone who's going to basically put them in a place what they want them to do, what the goal's going to be, and that's pretty much going to be it.
But here's the thing. When Karen says she wants a man who knows what he wants from A to Z to put me in my place, because I like that, but put me in my place respectfully. Okay, so you're looking for a man who will tell you what to do and direct you without you, I don't know, having anything to say? Or is that her way of saying that she wants to be submissive? One of our commenters that I read actually made a good point, that maybe she thinks that Karen is following the Steve Harvey book that is not sponsored. Act like a lady, think like a man. You know, with the 90-day rule and different little things like open a door, stuff like that. So maybe Karen might follow that. I don't know.
So? Because she don't want none of that.
I don't know. I'm just saying, but I thought that was a good point. Like maybe, you know, Karen's trying to put Miles to this pedestal of he needs to like fill box A, B, C, and D before I will even reciprocate anything.
Anything other than her definition is a no. She's going to end up crying in the bathroom like she did on day 1. So then this connects to their dinner scene. And basically, Karen finally tells Miles that, you know, what she wants is someone who can laugh with her, someone who can have conversations with her, and then also someone who can give her big masculine energy, as in putting her in her place, you know, having goals, leading the household, all that stuff. But when does having emotions and being open, like Miles was saying, you know, being his 100% self all the time, equate to not being a leader in a household?
Exactly, because Miles said, I'm a man and will always be a man at the end of the day. So, you know, Karen was just looking like, you know, listening like,
The same look she always gives.
Yeah, but it's just the fact that they come across, again, on being 2 different pages. Miles is not the type of man that Karen seems to be looking for. So to me, that's the issue right there. I mean, like Miles said to his friend earlier, we didn't touch on, you know, Karen is everything he wants on paper, which I've said that before. Like with these experts, you write these things down on paper, but how are you expressing, how is the real you in person?
Show us the real you. All right, everyone. So we have finally made it to the last episode before decision day. So we are going to give our final thoughts of who is going to make it and who isn't going to make it.
And we'll see if we're right next week, finally.
Okay, so let's start. Let's start with Amani and Woody. Make it or not?
Make it.
Yeah, that divorce thing, we're nobody fool with that. Karen and Miles.
I'm on the fence. My original thought is still not make it, but I know Miles wants to make it. I still say not make it.
I think Miles is going to say no and Karen's going to say yes. Okie dokes.
Olivia and Brett.
I mean, that's already a no. They
Well,
don't need to come.
There's still a couple,
We don't need to see them.
but we're going to see them on the...
Well, it's a no because Brett already made it clear that
It's a
it
no.
was a no. Amelia and Bennett.
I think they're going to go through some soul searching, especially Bennett's. But I still think it's a yes. But maybe with the bombshell Amelia dropped, I don't know. That puts you on the fence. But they've always been a yes for me, though.
I think they're going to pull through. Do I think they're going to make it longer than decision day? I'm going to go for no because Bennett wasn't feeling that and Amelia's true colors are going to shine really soon.
Okay. Christina and Henry. No.
I think Christina's going to try to pull a fast one with tears and stuff and say yes. But Henry is going to lay the choppers down and say no, which is what I want. So let us know what you guys think in the comments down below, what you thought about this episode, and who do you think is going to stay or leave in next week's episode. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe.
And as always, live simply, be grateful.